so let's get this back together. Let's start with some more of that really important stuff like poetry, which to people like me is really important stuff. The next individual I would like to call up comes all the way from South Africa, if I'm not mistaken. And she's here to bless us with her words tonight. And she will also be featuring in a show that I'm starting in an art gallery at, I believe that's 318 West Grand Avenue on December 28th. December, yeah. I went to public school, what do you want? Let's see, February 28th, fourth Friday of the month. Her name is Tumelo Koza. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Hello everybody, how are you? Everybody's feeling awake at 9:20. Tumelo. My name means faith, and my father named me after his ex-girlfriend. Seriously. Yeah, so I don't know what faith my father had in that, but anyway, he's forgiven. I wrote this poem when I was 18 years old and going through shit, that stuff.
We're in church.
You can swear.
God knows what.
God, Jesus loves swearing.
Okay, so two such voices have once again begun to flirt with my soul. Swollen bodies float above my head like bubble gum, a double hum of jazzy scratches. They replay themselves in my mind. I cannot run. My ears have overheard such words slip from the watery, ignorant lips of society, whispering deep in the ears of humanity that skin on skin is said to be better than a plastic in between. But then my mind wonders, how do I know the number of fine sisters who have paid a visit to his welcoming bedroom cupboards? How many of them have foreplayed between the sheets? And because of his promising lies, how many of them were misled? Should I do it? Should I not? Should I do it? Should I not? Should I do it? Should I not? Has become this boring chorus. It makes me yawn like Chuck Norris. I feel an angel and a demon slow dancing in my thoughts, in the inner core of my belly. The one says I'm clever, but the other laughs, saying I'm silly. It's about time you lost your virginity. What's the point of waiting? Time is but infinity. Besides, you already have a sweetheart to fulfill all your golden fantasies. But you're only 18, girl, you still a teen. Don't mess with time or you'll find that it is but mean. In the call of ecstasy, you'll find that you might fall and probably be tagged with breasts that sag a hoochie. Now you don't want that, do you, do me? Stuck in this net with bait in my head is confusion I chew. Thinking that action could raise mass destruction. Dear Lord, why all this temptation? Why this rough kiss of words when people diss? It was done by Eve and Adam. Nowadays we have to be nuns. It's a sanctum. Just to prove that we are lost in this worldly hole that's massive. Time, dear Lord, is aggressive and we are just caught in between as if we are passive. I know you want to. You fantasize about it, you daydream. I watch you. At times you can almost taste the tickling that takes place and tantalizes your taste buds. At times you can almost touch the smooth textures of his silky, soft brown skin. Oh, it is no sin. Do it. You'll do more than just grin. It's guaranteed you will love it. The rules of common sense state that this teenage stage is a cage that beats your mind with false images, that corrupts your mind, it damages. And people out there are savages. You could be one of those girls that are left behind after being laid like rotten cabbages. A year doesn't mean a thing. Now even a decade of your relationship, temptation doesn't have to sting. It is only a thing, maybe a fling. You don't have to crown him your king. The raven of your virginity doesn't have to sing. Maybe I should wait till I'm married. But me getting married Marriage is only a lifetime away, and my yesterdays can be wasted just because in common sense I don't have a say. And some say live for today, tomorrow your spirit could easily be blown away. I do not want to leave without knowing. But then again, who said that soon I'll be leaving? Maybe I should wait. Oh, but these pictures of open legs, the sucking of breast, the erecting of tits. Can't I just do it like 50 Cent? Just a little bit. The angel and the demon play tug of war with my thoughts. Dear Lord, I am afraid that in frustration I could be caught. Dumelo, it's only sex. No need to flex your thoughts and leave them tense. No need to fence your wants and needs while you're in between to dance. Time is immense. Do it now, do it then. It'll make no difference. I know you want it now, though, so make the first step. May I step in and remind you of the vicious consequences that could face you? Your boo could leave you, and the way this world is turning, you never know what is true. It's all voodoo, the piercing of the extra large, thick needle designed to damage you. Choice is the one thing that can mislead you. But wisdom is the only thing that can lead you. So, which choice do you choose to be chosen? You are now the guru. Sweet angel of God, how do I compete with these rough-riding leaders that masturbate with my knowledge? That erase all the wisdom that the Lord has placed in storage. At times I feel utterly stuck, whispering, what the heck? Stop all this waiting stuff and let me get a shove of the sweet taste of love. Sweet angel of God, I've done it already in my mind. I'm sure it won't make a difference if he just enters inside, right? It's just that it won't be mental, rather physical. No doubt I want to. It is only my age that this allows me to. That is why you should. If you didn't have this angel beside you, you would. A long time ago, you could have lost it and loved it, lose the virginity, experience the ecstasy. Time waits for nobody. It's your time to experience the intimacy that many speak of and you envy. It won't take long, just 1, 2, 3, it's over. Your virgin mucus could be as white as clover, and besides, darling, it was invented by Jehovah. Pregnancy is what I call a disease that even your poetry can't heal. Now, yes, lovemaking is sweet, it can enhance what you feel, but who said it's the key? And who said it's proven to be all a pure relationship needs? You see, that is unreal. Now, don't be keen to do things that will make the rest of the world mean, or else you will see what many of our disappointments have seen. Yes, certain things can be prevented, but who else has control over this world if it's not the Father in heaven? So with all this knowledge, I drifted myself back to reality and I thanked them both, learning that who else has control over me but me.
Stuff just got real. And you're short, so I have to reposition the microphone. Let me see. Okay, now I'm going to warn you. If you don't fill the 5 to 7 minute time slot that I've given everybody, I'm just going to keep reading pieces. So just keep that in mind. So I'm going to do one now, because I run the show and you don't. I think I already said that joke and it's not funny anymore. Let's see here. The Lord God has given me a well-trained tongue, that I might know how to speak to the weary a word that will rouse them. Morning after morning he opens my eyes that I may hear. And I have not rebelled, have not turned back. I gave my back to those who beat me, my cheeks to those who plucked my beard, my face I did not shield from buffets and spitting. Isaiah 54:7. Shame like beauty or ignorance in the eye of those that withhold. Shame that we as women and men, strong enough to ask for help, that we all know but will never hear broadcast. I remember the words you never said that were more solid than concrete and stung worse than wasps. Modern vernacular has changed. So spitting also has its definitions. I seek nothing beyond the teachings, beyond the reachings. I'll admit my sins. I like pretty girls. I like the few nights at a time when I have the opportunity to say goodnight to someone next to me. I am tiring of writing poems about my failure, about times you wore my name like a damaged coat. I received all the letters you sent, still smelling of the Black Sea and Korean streets. Our eyes have dropped the bomb, and not in that sense. I was never the one that was afraid of being alone. I never started that night on the couch. I repent. I still listen to a lot of Tom Waits and Leonard Cohen. But I went to Mass this morning. Tied my frond from a pond and listened to a man in a robe tell me about the Word. I am still studying the Word and what it really means according to Webster and .com. This is the flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. Be it for the sake of the Word, for the sake of my gambling flesh and face. Consume as you must or will. With this tongue the Lord has giveth, I can please a woman or break a soldier, kill a man if aimed properly. You beat me, shaved my beard while I slept, with the secrets you kept. Let this text be my body, let the sound be my blood. Amen. All right, I'm going to call a very good friend of mine up here. We often work together at the In 1 Year Open Mic Show, which is just a quick plug every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, Heartland Cafe. We should all be there. Mr. Billy Tuttle. By the way, he also has books and stuff to sell. You should buy one. I own one. They're awesome. How y'all doing? For those of you who are music fans, for those of you who have children in your life, a piece of advice for you. If you believe in a genre of music called hip-hop, tell them to turn off the radio, tell them to turn off the television, tell them to go outside, tell them to find a friend, tell them to write a song with that friend. I'm a part of an organization called the Temple of Hip-Hop, where we teach that hip-hop is not just a genre of music or even the subculture or culture from which it is spawned. It is the action of self-creation and of being a creator and removing the distance between yourself and what it is that you are trying to achieve. Hip-hop is not something you do, hip-hop is something you live. And if there's anything that's closer to God than that, I would like you to define that for me. This is called the invocation. Power from the streetlight made the place dark. Peace, groove theory and rhythmic prophecy, hindsight meets foresight providing light, breathtaking beatbox provides soundtrack for post-history. This love is not limited to a chosen few, but given to all who come through, representing, uplifting from the parks to the United Nations on word of mouth and vital vibration. Authors of peace treaties spanning the turn of millennia, gangsters who put down their guns, picked up their communities, then hit the underground with diplomatic immunity. Scientists of style, purveyors of that next ish. B-boy in the hood, Creole, rhythm warriors coming equipped for battle well after hours, chanting in tongues, birthing
urban dialect and reviving tribal aesthetics from concrete blocks and rooftops, from the boom to the boondocks, freeing souls from industrialized stereotypes while manipulating currency on gold and platinum standards. Even the tiniest had the chance to shine. We be the alpha and the omega, ridding art from politic and prophetic rage while turning the curse of poverty back upon itself. We rep before corporate co-opting and predicted its downfall. Ghetto superstars, our ascendants make us ghetto supernatural. Morphing ink style into history, I get it with the time signature and paint like it's a mural. The serial poetry in motion, we dance these words. Turntable alchemists spin wax into funk, hands crossfade witching hours into twilight. Kids flip head spins in free fall with only thin air between them and the breaks. We throw our hands up to the gods, giving thanks for the strength to beat the odds and the vibration upon which to write the next testament. Hip-hop push city limits to the sky and beyond, blowing the spot like a force of nature. And when we go out, we going out like eternity. See power from the street like made the place dark. Yo, we didn't care, we turned it out. I know a few understand what I'm talking about. I come originally from the African Methodist Episcopal Zion tradition. I gave up organized religion for the betterment of my sanity. This is about 22 years ago. I learned to subscribe to the tenets of Rastafarianism, the principles of karma. But one thing that I have discovered is that spirituality is universal. And the Temple of Hip Hop was not created to replace your religion, it was created to enhance your religion. And so I tend to look at hip hop as a metaphysical thing and not just a physical thing. It's not just the act of dancing or rhyming or DJing. It's the act of exchanging energy. The second and this last piece are both about that. This is called Extra Kinetic. The domain is not dance floor, but coliseum, an arena where platoons of one or a dozen clash over the territory of funk. Bodies are weapons, risk is the ammunition, circulatory systems tuned to internal metronomes, rapid-fire bravado fuels dexterous limbs, entwining attitude with aptitude. If up-rocking hand-to-hand can't force foes from the circle, the kinetic force of windmills will. Suicide flips like concussion bombs measure on the Richter and blowing up the crowd's collateral damage. Reach for polyrhythm with your hips. Use them to power legs, unchain feet from gravity and propel a dive into a vanishing surface. Contort to a new funk as you spin on undiscovered planes. When you rematerialize in this dimension, arms on ground, recalibrate axis to hold your statuesque freeze. Personify the harmony of style and the break and the victory. Come see me if you'd like a copy of Way of the B-Boy. It's not only a collection of poems, but it's also a hip-hop educational and spiritual curriculum sketch. My name is Billy Tuggle,
And who would like to hear Billy Tuggle do one more?
Thank you. From the Christian tradition of testifying. I am, syllabalistically speaking, the heartbeat of a diaspora. America's brown-skinned stepchild, a mask of myself, babysitter, neighbor, teacher, best friend, poet, and preacher, your people and folks, the demand for style from subways to subdivisions, from Palestine to Palatine, Illinois, South Africa, South Korea, South Dakota, South Bronx, Southside Chicago, act like you know. I am hope for descendants wiping away the blood, sweat, and tears of ancestors. Godfather, godmother, godsons and daughters, in the desert of poverty I am the water, drink wisely. The hustle and battle, sticking to my guns without firing a shot, to action and consequence, street knowledge and common sense, the karma of the streets, needs and takes, redemption and resolution, reincarnation and revolution at 33 and a third, vulnerable and fearless, free fall and impact. I am the ugly that God loves, the sublime attraction, your anti-hero, fantasy and reality, more than duality, exponentially worth my weight in sheer potential and priceless in my achievement, above the rim and below zero, completion of the circle from within the circle. I am between Mother Earth and Planet Rock, the battle cry for UNITY. Fire starter, rioter, martyr, painting walls so they build so that you can see the other side, top to bottom, end to end, the line between the rhymes, the dancer with my back to the bricks, ear to the speakers, 200% animation in sneakers, the anticipation between the needle and the record, the space between the reflection at the intersection of love and struggle, carrying the weight of soul like crates at the DJ's side. I'll stand up next to a mountain and shout it down from the top of my lungs, echoing off steel canyons for generations with magnetism, mysticism, alchemy, a breathing manifesto, the bounce in your root chakra, energy to matter, matter to energy, we, feeling we, funk version trading samples of you for pieces of me, the collage made with their refuse that now you can't refuse. Proof, the force, the truth, that time and space are not linear but a sphere, so wherever I am here, I am hip-hop, posted up front to back, pushing for the top and always digging the scene with a b-boy lean. Thank you very much. See you on Wednesdays, facebook.com/BackpackFiles.
Yes, not only is he an amazing poet, he is also a one-man band. Following reasons you should buy his book. I own it, I've read it, it's very good. Let's see, coming up next. I numbered these things, but I never go by the numbers, so I don't know why I even bother doing this. Let's get Amy David up here. Yeah. About time. We're all about quality and stuff here, right? Come on. Yeah.
Short mic. That'll do. So I was called to the Torah as a bat mitzvah on June 10th, 1995. And the Haftorah that week was from Judges, and this poem begins with a quote from that portion. But Manoah's wife said to him, had the Lord meant to take our lives, he would not have accepted a burnt offering and meal offering from us. Judges 13:23. In Basra. The target sits before you saying, take this, eat. Take the orange carved, gutless, and stuffed with sweeter pulp. Take the fattiest part of the lamb. Take the cocoa dotted with salt. To refuse is to have no tongue. Perhaps you have a preference for velvet. Perhaps you have a yearning for the inside of a shell or a cozy stone of a rabbit's foot run through your fingers. Will it be music? Name that tune. The deep moan of the tuba and the oboe's melancholy hum or the sprinkling of a flute. Tell me what gift you will not deny. Let me hand you an endless pine bough and tulips left honeyed by the bees. Do you know that the nose is the closest organ to the brain? Maybe you opt for the odalisque or see all things in a stricken arabesque, but surely you want, surely you are no angel of death or gun-toting Buddha. Every one of you thinks red, white, and blue, thinks semper fi, thinks he is not for sale, correct, for payment in cash. But what about electric screens, or an end to them, the brush strokes of illumination, hot stones at 2-inch intervals down your back? hummingbird, its tinny song, its gasping feathers, its single bite of flesh. Look, the last embers have sighed. Come closer and take off your shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, hanging out back in 1995. So that was my half-Torah portion. My Torah portion was called Neso, and this is just a little something called Neso in 7 limericks, or How I Became a Jewish Adult. This is Numbers 4:21 through 7:89. 1. God speaks of the family Gershon. I'm so tired of hearing them moan. Let them carry the curtains. That's easy, I'm certain, and pray that they leave me alone. 2. Turns out the Merari have it worse. God's edicts are getting perverse. Carry all the heavy stuff, and if that ain't enough, pay a quarter each time that you curse. 3. It's now time for God to present the rules for a ritually pure tent. Get rid of the lepers and the moral missteppers and the tribesmen behind on their rent. 4. If a man wants to be a Nazir, he must pledge not to cut off his hair. He must be unwed, and if his mother drops dead, he must flee her to save his career. 5. The Gershon get a third of the herd, while the Merari are suddenly preferred. They get most of the beasts for serving the priests, and the Kohath get the proverbial bird. 6. The tribal leaders each bring the same gifts, but to make sure none gets the short shrift, the text's overdone, recounting each one, and setting attentions adrift. 7. There's more of the repeating dilly-dally, leading up to a long final tally of silver spoons, lambs, bulls, and rams, and angels thrown in for the finale. It's a really boring Torah. I mean, not that there are boring things in the Bible, but it's I can. Right price. All right. So finally, this is something that I wrote for the Encyclopedia show a few years ago on hell. Gehenna, the Jewish purgatory, is not that different from a Phoenix retirement community. Both are home to huge numbers of wrinkly Jews who will probably be gone by the end of the year, and who try to justify their surroundings by walking around insisting, it's a dry heat. Gehenna is where some souls go for a slight correction. Phoenix leads the nation in chiropractors. Gehenna was once thought to be adjacent to a perpetually flaming heap of unclean bodies. Phoenix is adjacent to Arizona State University. Gehenna is for the totally hopeless. Phoenix has the Cubs in spring training. In Gehenna, the extremely wicked are punished 6 days a week. Phoenix is where they do that to Latinos. Both places reserve the Sabbath day for playing mahjong. While it's not really a place I'd like to visit, sorry grandma, and other grandma, and step-grandma, and half-grandma, and other grandma, Gehenna is really pretty mild when you compare it to what the Catholics made it into. All that fire and brimstone, spiritual estrangement, eternal torture, it was enough to scare James Joyce out of the priesthood. And anyone who has read Ulysses knows that Joyce is one sadistic bastard. Those tricky Catholics did the same thing with Lent. A one-day fast for Yom Kippur wasn't enough for them. They had to go and make it into a full month of giving up something you love, like caffeine, or showers, or religion. For centuries, we've had Purim, a holiday for getting drunk until you can't tell your right hand from your left. The Catholics renamed it St. Patrick's Day and converted thousands of Lincoln Park residents in one fell swoop. But two can play this game. We can take the Catholic traditions and make them cooler. Let's start with communion. No more of these tasteless, dry wafers. We're going for tasteless, dry tabs of LSD. Nobody's going to be passing around a cup of backwash wine at my communion. We'll bust out the full handle of Jim Beam. And saints, that's a great idea right there. I want someone to pray to when I can't be bothering the big guy all the time. If we want to one up the Catholics, we'll put Jews on beatification fast track. We won't even wait for them to die. St. Rom of Chicago, please bring hail upon the city that it might destroy every stoplight camera along Western Avenue. We'll cover the backs of our cars with magnetic whales swallowing magnetic fish. We'll elect our own pope and give him an even bigger hat. We'll turn confession into a series on VH1. Okay, so maybe religion isn't meant to be a competition. But just in case it is, remember, I'm on the chosen team.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is why I love Amy David and why she has done, nationals, Women of the World Poetry Slams, independent something slams, all kinds of stuff like that. I was gonna use the CR star P word, but we're insured, so I'm not going to. But yeah, that's why she's freaking awesome. So give her a round of applause. Come on. Let's see. Okay. Maybe just to tone things down a little bit. We'll bring up a friend of mine. He was actually a monk for 8 years. And is a poet to this day. Joshua Ben Warner, where are you?
Yeah, so it's true. I monked it up for 7 whole years. And this first poem that I'm going to read to you is probably represents what was the beginning of the end of that period of my life. This is called The Love Song of a Celibate Man. It poured for a week, leading up to my trip to North Carolina, where the Religious Sisters of Mercy were hosting a shared day of classes. In theory, storms are an opportunity to acknowledge that I'd given up marriage and come to the monastery so I could walk through the deluge as Noah had, with God alone. In practice, the clouds made me see the empty hallways by their dusty corners first and realize how much my flesh objected to the fact that in 4 years I'd only been intimately touched by raindrops. Normally I'd tell you that writing a poem's like getting a love note from God. Well, I believe it when it's sunny out, but by the second wet Sunday, my words came across as verbalized denial and nothing more. It's through the absence of eyes that God gets the ego-supplied eye to die. If God has no gaze and no verbs but my own, that Sunday it seemed we had both turned our faces, made rhyming the reason to keep from confronting the truth. All tenderness aside, no wife would ever look at me reproachfully or slap me when I'm being a jackass. Yeah, it's what I signed up for. But just then I'll be damned if I wanted it. When the time came, the sisters in North Carolina couldn't possibly have been better hostesses. In the late afternoon, they allowed me to tour the home they'd established for the disabled. I was born with cerebral palsy, so spending time with its residents was like looking at myself. Before you start thinking me comfortable with that, I'll confess that I always hated mirrors. All they ever showed me was my own twisted gait. Growing up, I maintained that I'm more than my body as a matter of faith. As a result, in adulthood, I know how important is keeping my eyes on the noses of the world's blonde bombshells. I want them to know that they're women, not objects, and worth more than the sum of their curves. I have a whole history of issues like this, and I walked into that home knowing it. On the floor of the third room, a basically non-verbal handicapped woman lay on an exercise mat in positions designed to stretch her tight muscles. A nearby physical therapist said, "Her name is Jenny," and I heard her just barely. Occupied as I was with kneeling and realizing I'd been rejecting myself most of my life, I'd taken it lying down, then called the whole thing therapy. Jenny didn't know how helpless I felt right then, and thank God it allowed me to stay focused on the need to see something deeper in her than the twisted physicality she exhibited. I didn't know for certain, but I figured it might have been a while since Jenny had been touched by anyone not being paid to do it. So I looked her in the face, smiled and reached out, gently touching her cheek. She snorted, which surprised me. Then she grinned and laughed, and that was all. All right. Usually my verse is shorter than this. Let me end by speaking to what's important. Jenny, I started this poem for myself. I'm finishing it for you. This is called Prayer Upon Leaving the Monastery. You said, stop doing shots in the dark and pretending I sent them to quench your thirst. And I heard, so I went and I learned to beg sun. I tipped my head back, and I let out the loud in my whisper. But that doesn't affect the flinch cynic inside me, who muttering ruckus will constantly ask what an open ear's for, and I love nothing more than for him to get quiet and securely behind me. You know, I've forgotten, maybe you can remind me, are the dark roads the ones for which you first designed me? Or am I simply pissed, missing street signs for kicks and deliberately losing my way? Look, help me to get through the day, and for fuck's sake, come find me. Thank you kindly for the fine way you led me from solitude, but my hand is still hollow. Who'll do the holding, the swallowing of days as they're poured with me? Now you could claim that my wallows just linger deprived of its drink, but I think that I'll stay till you hear what I say, and you answer, enliven, and guide me. And I'll do one more short one if you have the patience. Thank you. This is called Vespers. Blessed are those who have quietly noticed what most can't be bothered to see. I heard once that drunks in recovery often surrender their dried-out anxiety to things like the street lamp aglow by their Tuesday night meetings stoop. When life's at its darkest, the hoops of belief I can make myself jump through seldom get lighter than that. The one who made the universe, who was crucified, died and was buried, he tarries in streetlights, hides behind runaway cats, behind college student call to action rings. As frequently as I can, I need to admit this. The one I search so rarely for, he's there and waits to bear the paperweight. If I can't pull off praise, let me pay him attention. A lampost's worth mentioning here. It can't help me hit bottom. It can only be near me. The one who was, who is, and ever shall be. When I gave up, he held me. He held me up, see, when the most I could do was advertise all that I'm missing.
Lord, won't you make it right? Be working in the morning, be working in the evening. If I wasn't working, Lord, I wouldn't be eating. I'd be sweating in the day, dreaming in the night. Sweating when I'm dreaming, Lord, won't you make it feel alright? There's a poem that comes after that part, but that poem is terrible. I'm not going to read that poem. I'm going to talk to you, because apparently I have 7 to 8 minutes. And the poem that I brought is 3 minutes. Notice, I sang that song, and in there, I say the word Lord. This is about faith. I find faith in music. I'm currently in love. Woo, one guy. Currently in love, and this love was forged in the blues. More music. So, I listen to these old school cuts. I listen to Motown. I listen to like Negro spirituals. And I recently thought about how many times the Lord is evoked. And it got me thinking there must be this inherent link between the Lord and music. I'm not a Christian. I was. Christianity was cool, but it wasn't for me. But I grew up with Christianity. That's what I knew. And I believe somewhere in Sunday school, some pulpit, someone told me to open my mouth and make a joyful noise unto the Lord. Music. Joyful noises in the Lord. Sometimes life is hard. You feel like you're trapped. He got me locked up in his cage. I'm in here. Got me locked up in his cage. I'm in here. Well, they threw away the key. Lord, come on down and rescue me. Got me locked up in his cage. Got me shackled by my feet. Got me locked up in his cage. I'm in here. Got me shackled by my feet. I'm in here. Got me shackled by my feet. I'm in here. Lord, 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 till I'm crying out to cry. Lord, give me wings so that I can fly. Got me shackled by my feet. They got me locked up in this cage. Got me shackled by my feet. I'm in here, dear Lord. Did you catch it? The Lord was in that one too. Lord, music. That's my joyful noise. So, I said I wasn't a Christian anymore, and I'm like digging that, because when you say, sorry, I'm not a Christian anymore, people are like, ooh, what are you? And sometimes I kind of want to mess with them and be like, I practice Gehenna or something. Like I would just say some random word, and they were like, wow, you're so spiritual. And it would make me ask, like, so was I not spiritual when it was just Jesus? If it's not something that everyone's heard of, that's what makes it spiritual. And I think that's garbage. I was in the military shortly, and I can't swim. I joined the military, I joined the Navy, and I can't swim. Yeah, I remember the petty officer, he said, how many of you here can't swim? And like half the room raised their hands. And then he said, outstanding. My next question is, well, why would you join the Navy if you can't swim? And everyone's me being the smart ass that I am, I say, well, petty officer, I don't expect the ship to sink. That was the wrong thing to say. When I said I don't expect the ship to sink, I guess I was showing some sort of faith in, I don't know, naval engineering technology, I suppose. But God, the Lord, the Orishas that I worship in my situation, decided to show me about that sinking ship. Because when I got out of boot camp, I never saw a ship. I was on land. And I watched all my little shipmate friends get on ships and go away. But that's not the story I want to tell you. I was in the military, couldn't swim. But of course, you have to show you can swim to get out of boot camp. And every day, believe it or not, I wasn't as fat as I am now. But I had a little buoy thing going. And I hit my water every day and I sank like a stone every day. Thrashing, help, every day. So well, you can't get out of boot camp until you learn to swim, so you're gonna come to extra swim practice every day. So every day I went to swim practice. And I saw people get it eventually. Took them 3, 4, 12 times, but they got it. I just didn't get it. And I said, well, you know what? I'm done. I'm gonna quit the Navy. I'm from Illinois. I'm from Chicago. I know where I'm at. There's a metro train right there, and I can walk out these gates, and I'm done with the Navy. Like some of these people were like, they were from Texas, and they were like, I want to go home. I'm like, sucks to be you. I'm gonna take a metro train. So that's it. I packed my bag. I'm walking out the door. There's a gate like 20 feet away from me. And before I got to the gate, there was the chaplain's office. Something, or someone, told me, go into that chaplain's office and talk to the chaplain. So I walk into the chaplain's office. I said, hey, can't swim. I ain't gonna learn to swim. I'm out of here. I know where I'm at. I'm getting on that train and I'm done with the Navy. He said a bunch of Christian things. I don't remember them all. But the final thing he said, he was like kind of Southern Baptist preacher, black guy. He said, wait. Jesus told me to tell you, if you go take that test tonight, you gonna pass. Jesus, chaplain. Did he just send you an email, Jesus just sent you an email and said, I'm gonna pass the test right. Is that right, chaplain? So, me being me, I'm like, oh, I wanna see this. Jesus is gonna make sure that I pass the test. So, I put my bags back in the barracks. I went to the swim test. I'm like, let's go, I'm ready today, petty officer. He's like, that's right, Piggy. Oh, no, apparently Jesus is gonna make sure I pass. And he's like, whatever it takes. So I said, all right, Jesus, let's do this. And I jump in the water, and I hit the water, drowning like I do every day. And he comes and saves me. The guy, the petty officer comes and saves me like he does every day. And so we're all standing in this sad line, and he's like, Thomas, you passed. Smith, you passed. Peterson, you passed. Pickett. And I was like, and he looks at me and says, get out of here, you passed. And I literally said, Jesus? So for the next 3 or 4 months, I was that guy. Have you heard the good news about Jesus? Hey, it is good morning. He woke us up. Hello, I love him. Do you? I was that guy. I was straight up Jesus freak for 3 months. Until my appetite for heroin came back. And I got in a car and I drove from Norfolk, Virginia back to Chicago, Illinois, because I didn't know where to get heroin in Virginia. But I knew where to get it in Chicago. And I went back. And I relapsed. And that's when I said, whoa, what happened? I thought Jesus had my back. I was confused, I was scared. Lordy, Lordy, can't you see? Lord, tell me what the devil done to me. Lord, tell me, I used to pray every day still. Lord, look now the devil in my way. I don't think you hear me, Lord, if you cry. Lordy, Lordy, can't you see? Can you hear me now? Lord, if you cry. What the devil done did to me. Lord, let me tell you, I used to be a warrior. Lord, let me now how all I'm saying is sorry, sir. That's why I just keep on crying. I'm gonna just keep on swinging the hammer. Hey, Lord, can't stop all that crying tonight. Whoa, hey, I'm gonna just keep on swinging my hammer. Oh, Lord, did you catch it? Lord, He's in all three of them. And so someone asked me, what you know about faith? And I'm like, I know I wrote a poem called Faith once. I find faith in the music. I find faith in blues. I find faith in my ancestors. I find faith in love, real, true love, the most purest love there is. I find faith in Parchment Farm chain gangs, that melancholy melody under this Mississippi sun. I find faith in it. Oh, Helen Mary, don't you wait on me. Oh, I might not show when I find faith in the most unlikeliest of places. I found faith in a shoe once. It's a hilarious story. Let's share a joint. I'll tell you about it. So that's that piece. Yeah, I got it. So I'm gonna, if you don't sit your ass, you got a piece called faith. If you will sit down and let me handle it, I got this, faith, I got it. All right. What you gonna do? Greg, sit. Have faith that I'm on a board. I gotta get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. This ran a little later than I thought, and I have another obligation I need to get to. But I just want to tell all of you, everyone is amazing that got on this stage. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, clap for yourself. You deserve it. Thank you for sharing your gifts with me, your words with me. Charles West, get ready for it. I'm going to hound you until the end of your days about this pig, which is the microphone. So get ready. You're going to hear randomly, speaking to the pig. I'm going to say that. I just want you to get ready for it. So I have this poem called Faith. A lot of people have heard it. It helped me win the semi-finalist award in the Windlebreast Open Mic Awards last year. And when I wrote it, all I knew was Christianity. Now I am a student of Ifa. What's Ifa? What's Ifa? Ifa is a traditional African religion. A lot of people don't know the word Ifa. They know the word Santeria. They know the word voodoo. Some people know the word Palo. So the thing with Christianity, with me, was though sometimes Jesus helped me pass the swim test, or helped me get the job, and this, that, and the other. That's cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. But I always felt off practicing what I practice now. I feel completely on. There's no doubt. So, although when I wrote this poem, I practiced Christianity, I think I was actually writing it for when this moment came. I've asked the question, what is faith? Until my tongue is dry like Sahara. I only wonder if faith can be distilled and bottled. Is it found And dreadlocks or receding hairlines, what does it look like? Is it a plastic bag flying in an angry wind? A sweat stain that resembles a savior, maybe it's personal. Does it smell like cinnamon? Does faith have a health plan? Is it accepting applications? I'm inclined to believe that faith cannot be defined as anything other than footprints in wet cement, left to dry under indifferent sun. But then I think, what are the lives lost? Murder in the name of faith. Call it crusade or jihad, still looks like murder. And what of the faith found in the hands of fools? Does it have any less value than that found on the shoulders of heroes? Maybe it's personal. To you, faith can be billy clubs or cigarettes. Miracles, maybe to you, faith is a Polish from 95th Street with a little bit of mustard, no onions, and a whole lot of pride. Maybe it's personal. To you, faith is a surging river mouth. Perhaps it is a caveman's heart beating furiously. Maybe your faith is a musical in which there are 525,600 different ways to sing the body electric. Maybe it's personal. To you, it smells like triumph, looks like Christmas. To me, it is a poem. To you, it is a new moon, roses sold from buckets, new tattoos and brand new addictions. Faith is a really, really big rock that's broken a lot of windows. It is baby's first steps. Loaves of bread, the charming of snakes. It is this thing that lives inside your skull. To me, it is a poem. Faith is a poem that I've finally learned how to write.
That's the essence of what we're here about tonight. Faith is something different to everybody else. And I think he captured that pretty well. So, Mr. Pickett, I want to thank you for doing that piece. Let's see, right now, I'd like to call up someone I'd like to consider a good friend of mine. He's headed up the Green Mill team and done all kinds of, impressive stuff that I probably don't even know about. He's also one of the tallest Jewish guys I've ever met. So I'm going to have to raise this microphone probably. Please put your hands together for Mr. Eric Soroka.
Hey, so I was raised and am a Reformed Jew, so I'm going to do two poems that at least reflect on my experience and ethos as such. One is about what I take the Jewish approach to death to be, which I think is a different in some ways than other faiths. And the second is going to be just about my identity as an American Jew. And Amy's going to help me with that because she's Jewish also. Yeah. So, Jews. All right. The ethics of death. 1. Drive to St. Louis. 2. Shovel dirt in the grave. 3. At my grandfather's funeral, I deliver the eulogy. I joke that I only visited him in the nursing home because he had cable. While sitting Shiva, I hug my grandma and tell her she is finally back on the market. She responds through her tears, "You'll have to give me a few weeks. Us old girls don't move as fast as you kids." 4. Don't drop the shovel. Don't stumble. Don't think about the loss. Think about your feet. Focus on your grip. 5. Don't make your grandmother throw out his expensive suits. Sure, they don't quite fit you, but you have no shortage of hangers. Sure, he bought them with money he didn't have, but what's done is done. 6. Upon returning to Boston from winter break freshman year, we learned that my dorm neighbor Ian died of a sudden heart attack that morning. I was not close with Ian, but I tried to make myself cry. No such luck. I go to his funeral and shovel dirt in the grave. I go to his memorial service but do not speak. His girlfriend's face is a shattered vase. I meet his family and say kind but impersonal things. I bounce off the walls of my bedroom, furious that I cannot mourn. I slowly realize that Ian's death cannot bring he and I closer. 7. Keep your hands on the wheel. You aren't driving to St. Louis for Sarah. She didn't even pay you attention while she was alive. If she wanted to keep in touch, she wouldn't have jumped out the window. But her friends need a ride to the funeral, and you're the only one with steady hands. 8. There's no shame in hating Whitney Houston or John Lennon or Michael Jackson for taking up the front page of your paper, especially when 5,000 toddlers die of river diarrhea every day and make no headlines. 9. Accept that you weren't close with his girlfriend before the heart attack. It's okay that you don't miss the nursing home, that you took a detour to see the arch, that he was just another thing you had to do. 10. I don't know where her God will put her, but my God will love me as long as I try to remain kind. My God will forgive me all of my nightmares and daydreams. 11. There's too much darkness in the daybreak for the sunset to be clean. Too much darkness in your silhouette and your smile can't be seen. Another dark hole in this grassy knoll. It almost seems obscene. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry we haven't spoken in so long. All right, so me and Amy are gonna do some Jew shit for you now. I think I can swear, it's a Unitarian church. That's right, folks, a basketball team up here.
Maccabi Games.
Maccabi Games, y'all. It's Yom Kippur, the Jewish day of repentance and forgiveness. We fast on Yom Kippur, which means we don't eat anything from sundown to sundown, though I make exceptions for Aquafresh and water. I'm sure there's something intelligent to say about all of this, about privilege, faith, opiates of the masses, self-flagellation, or historical memory. But right now, it's 3 p.m. and I am fucking hungry. My Nana guilt-tripped me into going to services, but I hate them more than Jewish God hates everybody. She told me to marry a Rachel Goldstein. I told her I was in a serious relationship with a Palestinian gentleman named Ahmad, which she knows isn't true because I'm never in a serious relationship. In temple, 300 Jews are engaged in prayer. Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Shalom Einstein, Sandy Colfax, Oive Schmuck, Matzah Seinfeld. I don't think anyone believes what we're saying. Since the Holocaust, like 60% of Jews identify as atheist, according to Wikipedia. Baruch Atah Moses, Rabbi Beastie Boys. The sermon is about struggling with Judaism's place in the modern world and what there is to do about it. I know I struggle with Judaism's place in my life, and I know what I'm going to do about it. I'm gonna fucking complain about it. I'm gonna piss off my grandpa, my parents, and my sister's Orthodox boyfriend who can't chew me out because he's not technically family yet. Kosher hot dogs. I'm gonna act like a 13-year-old for the rest of my life about going to Brandeis and wearing suits in Israel and interfaith marriage. I'm gonna say angry things to God. Not like Christ on the cross or Abraham pleading for Sodom and Gomorrah, but like me whining at you. Right now. Baruch Atah.
Accusations of liberal media bias.
Our code for anti-Semitism. Drake, Barbara Streisand. In December 2008, I visit the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem. Meanwhile, Israel bombs Gaza, killing 700 civilians in 3 weeks. Maybe this is what causes the gulf between me and my heritage to fluctuate between puddle and moat. Maybe it's the pressure against interfaith marriage which smells like bigotry but tastes like loyalty, or the pointless fasts, or the suburban flight, or maybe it's how every time I bow my head in prayer to a God I still believe in, my yarmulke falls to the floor. All right, thanks so much, folks.
Alright, I got nothing. However, he does have a fantastic chapbook. There are copies of it on sale out in the main lobby there. And you should pick one up, because it's pretty cool. And he's pretty talented. He's done all kinds of stuff national-wise and whatnot. Anyway, I didn't bring the list up with me, damn. Excuse me, darn. Church. Let's bring up somebody who kind of knows what he's talking about. Mr. Francisco. If you'd grace us with your presence. This is a man that's actually gone through seminary and kind of knows what he's talking about when it comes to religion, as he's had the education. Am I mistaken in any of this? What are we doing? Okay. All right. You want this up? All right. Thank you.
Everyone, let's give some warm love to Greg here for organizing this. So I came here tonight and I was thinking about I was going to do chapter 4 of Mark, but I'm feeling guilty because I'm not doing anything original. So we're going to start off. Anybody here from liturgical traditions? Any Episcopalians, Lutherans, Roman Catholics? Okay, so we're reading from the book of Mark. And once I do that, I'm actually going to do a little homily on Mark 4. So once again, there was a crowd gathered around Jesus coming to hear his teachings. But the crowd was so big that Jesus actually had to put himself into a boat. And then after, he goes a little way out from the shore. He sits there. And the entire crowd is standing on the land while he is on the sea. Now what you gotta know too, this is the Sea of Galilee, or in Hebrew they say the Kinneret. And the Sea of Galilee has these natural walls that are all around it. They actually reverberate sound really well. And it's really cool because if you look at the sand of the Sea of Galilee, you see tons of little shells. It's actually a really magical little place. So when Jesus was sitting there, and so he began to teach them, saying to everyone, "Listen! One day, a sower went out to sow seed. And as he was sowing the seed, some of the seed fell on the path. And then the birds came, and they ate it up. Other seed fell down among the rocks, where there was no depth of soil, and it sprang up quickly, because there was no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, it was parched and scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. Other seed fell among the thorns, and then the thorns grew up, and they choked the grain, so that it yielded nothing. But other seed fell onto good soil, and it brought forth grain. 50, 60, and 100-fold. Now later on, Jesus goes on to explain to the disciples exactly what he was talking about, right? So he's speaking very metaphorically, and most of the people he's talking to were fishermen, day laborers. They weren't quite used to metaphorical thinking. But there's something that I really like about this story, because it's something that kind of gets overlooked. If you are a reasonable farmer, why the hell would you be scattering seed on the path? What kind of farmer is that? If you were a farmer, what kind of farmer would be scattering seed among thorns or in the rocks? If you were a farmer back then, chances are, unless you wanted to shell out a whole bunch of sheklim, right, for your stuff, money, to pay for your seed, you needed to be really careful about where you put your seed. And I think it's really pretty great that, I mean, we can all sit around and go, I really, really hate Christian piety when they get like this. Like, well, we all have to be good soil. We want to bear forth good fruit, 30, 60, and 100-fold. Yeah, but why the hell is God scattering seed everywhere? I think it's because that God has hope and sees something that we don't. Why is it that there are Muslims and Jews and Christians and Jains and Buddhists? I just think that's just, I mean, I'm making a big statement here. I just think God's just scattering seed because we all have a lot of shit to deal with on this planet, right? Let alone people who don't have faith, let alone people, whatever it is. God is going to give us whatever it is that we need, wherever it is that we are, profusely. Even if it goes against all reason and all sense. Just as Jesus was willing to sit out on a freaking boat out in the Sea of Galilee so he could accommodate more people that wanted to hear him speak and probably people that wanted to be healed by him. That kind of generosity, that kind of hope, the kind of generosity that also comes from the God who, when he saw that we just weren't getting it, that we constantly had to worry about death, no matter what we did, that nasty demon was always lurking in the background. God sent his only son to make death history, so that we need never fear anything ever again. We never need be afraid of our own guilt. We need never be afraid of our own failings. That God was so generous, God was willing to make a blood pact himself with us. To say, not only will I take care of you, but I will love you so much that I will die for you. That's the kind of God that I think is worth praising. Amen.
The daily spiritual thoughts of Mr. Francisco. Let's all give him a round of applause. And, we're kind of running under the gun at this point as far as time-wise goes, but let's give a round of applause for our final performer of the evening, the runner of the, and founder for that matter, of the only other certified slam in Illinois, the Rockford Slam, Mr. Bubbles Mateo Sanchez. Bless us with your
slam master would actually kill me if I didn't correct that slightly. Actually, the slam was going on for about a year before I even found out about it. She's mean to us. But yeah, as a quick caveat to this poem, one of the worst places to find out if you start to doubt your belief in God is at a fundamentalist Christian school. Which is, yeah. So this is called For the Boy Who Asked, Why Don't You Just Kill Yourself When He Found Out I Don't Believe in God? It's a happy piece. Dear Aaron, for the last few years I imagined what I would say if given another chance, instead of remaining silent. And for the longest time, the only answer I had was, I'm alive just to piss you off. Yet I've learned that you do not play with ignorance like a dog, holding knowledge inside your pocket, hoping that you will realize that it is there. So let me give you an honest answer, yet please understand. I did not wake up one day and decide not to believe in God. Instead, I spent months questioning everything, searching for any reason to still believe, hoping that these doubts consuming me would simply slip away. Knowing that with them would come loss, because the moment I lost God, I lost everything. The belief that I held for so many years becoming dead to those around me. Losing the security which would come from me late at night. Do you know what it feels like to stand in a crowded room alone? Yet I have found that there are those who will hold you with open arms, care nothing for what you believe. Instead, they will remember your name for no other reason than it is yours. But now I can answer your question. Yes, there are some days when the only reason I am still alive is because there is nothing better to do. There are other moments when I realize that the rising of the sun is a question, waiting for us to fill in those moments, remember the feeling of a lover, hearing their voice in my ear, looking at my nephew's eyes, wondering what he will become. Aaron, I'm still alive, because every breath is a gift. The tension in our chest is a reminder that we are still here, and I can imagine no other existence beyond this one. So I intend to embrace every moment,